What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. We are all Bitcoin Maxis. Now, I did some research and I wanted to share my notes with you all. And this was inspired by a subscriber, I believe, or somebody in the comments. And they asked me to make a video on how much you actually need to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders. And basically, get out of the middle class is how I would frame this as well. That's why I titled it this, because this is how much you currently need to be able to get out of the middle class in the foreseeable future. Now, what I found is 0.28 Bitcoin is what you need. Now, I'm going to go into it, and it's very important. It's going to make sense towards the end. So pay attention if you guys want to follow along. So Bitcoin is extremely concentrated, okay? Many wallets hold fractions of Bitcoin. Now, analytics from BitInfo charts suggests that already having 0.28 puts you among the wealthier Bitcoin addresses. Now, important caveat with wallet versus people, okay? Some people hold multiple wallets. So for example, me, I hold multiple wallets and they're in my ledger, but I hold multiple wallets with different amounts, right? So that's an example. So some people might hold multiple wallets. Like I said, a single person might control several small amounts, which can skew the stats that you can see on the blockchain online, right? So exchanges, let's talk about that. Many addresses belong to exchanges, not individuals, okay? Current price of me recording this is 114,000 Bitcoin, which is 31,900-ish, okay? But the number changes as price moves, of course. So 23,000 is realistically low to be in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders. Now, I think that this person that commented was talking about a video that I believe I came across, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody by any means of how they're doing their content or anything like that, because it's just there's different information out there, so I want to bring correct information. So owning 0.28 Bitcoin would likely keep you in top 1% of Bitcoin holders even if price increases. Now, the number is based on Bitcoin you hold, not in US dollars. Okay, so let's go to my next page of notes. Now, the key points here in this video is the top 1% is about ownership, not price. So the percentage of Bitcoin you need to be in the top 1% depends on distribution of coins among wallets, not how much each coin is worth in dollars. Now, we know that there's 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined. Not all of them are mined, but that's how much we know is going to be mined, okay? So only 21 million Bitcoin is the total supply. So 0.28 Bitcoin remains a small fraction of total coins, which is enough to keep you in the top 1% of addresses currently. Now, if Bitcoin jumps to 200K, for example, your 0.28 is worth 56,000 instead of 32,000, but still the same ranking among holders, but not in dollars. All right. Now, here's the caveat. The wallet distribution changes. So if a huge number, right, of people pile in, acquiring more Bitcoin, the threshold for the top 1% could slightly increase. Now, this is going to make sense when I talk about another video in a minute. So historically, the top 1% always requires less than 1 Bitcoin. So 0.28 Bitcoin is safe for the foreseeable future. However, like I said, I'm going to get into something in a minute. Why the threshold could move. Now, right now, most wallets hold very little Bitcoin, a few thousand sats or less. That's why owning 0.28 already puts you ahead of 99% of wallets. Now, I have a video where I educate everybody about how only 4% of the world owns any Bitcoin. All right. And so in the future, if millions of new people stack more Bitcoin, right, then it would be considered, for example, mass adoption, which would happen, and lots of middle class investors, for example, start buying zero point 0.1, 0.3, for example, then the average amount goes up. Now, this means the cutoff for the top 1% could rise from 0.28 Bitcoin to maybe 0.3 or 0.4 or even higher. Now, the key things to remember here, the threshold can't shrink much because you can't have negative Bitcoin. So there's only 21 million that will ever be created, mind. But it can creep up as more holders accumulate. That's why in my other videos, I always suggest to you guys to at least strive. If you guys are going to stop stacking Bitcoin, at least strive for 0.5. And I know a lot of people are going to just might cringe or say, well, I can't afford that much. The thing is that you have a talent. You can find a way. You can scale down your purchases like I have other videos about. And there's ways that you can do it. You just have to think outside the box. But of course, legally, not promoting doing any illegal stuff. You know what I mean? But now the bottom line, owning 0.28 Bitcoin today makes you top 1%. But 20 to 30 years from now, maybe the cutoff will be 0.3 to 0.5. And this is from the research that I found. And like I said, my other videos, I always suggest at least striving for 0.5 Bitcoin. Now, Bitcoin's not going anywhere. You can dollar cost average over years and years, and even if the price is going up, you can still get there as long as you're consistent and you're not trying to day trade it or swing trade it. So that's my ultimate, hope for all of you, especially if you're in the middle class watching this. So maybe the cutoff will be, well, I already covered that in my notes. Now, Bitcoin, instead, depending on how many people pile in, I don't know what I put here. Maybe the cutoff will be 3 to 5 Bitcoin instead, depending on how many people. Oh, I already said that. All right. So anyways, yeah, I want to come on and make this video. I hope it's been very helpful for you all. Now, 0.28 is, like I said, if you made it this far, thank you for watching. It took me a while to come up with this research. And I really encourage you all to strive for 0.28 Bitcoin. Now, there's probably other people or channels, and I'm not knocking people by any means for how they teach their content, but like I said, I researched this and I really wanted to bring it to everybody's attention because I think it's important to recognize that if you want to get out of the middle class, you have to understand that it's going to take a lot of sacrifices to be able to get there. And sacrifices as in cutting going out, cutting buying certain things at the store you might not need, going above and beyond to be able to stack and save more money. And with the Fed about to cut rates next week, inflation might get worse, and then the middle class is just going to get left behind even more. So like I said, I want to come on and make this video. I don't recommend here with me, Mr. Bitcoin Maxi, I don't recommend anything below 0.28 Bitcoin if you want to be considered in the top 1%. And you can all find this online. It's all public information if you do research on it. So like I said, I want to come on and make this video. I'll be coming out with another video tomorrow, and I hope you all found value in it. So consider hitting that subscribe button if you're new. Thank you all again for 500 subs in like 2 weeks. Been crazy journey, and I'm going to keep bringing everybody as much content as I can. A lot of times it takes me a long time to research this stuff for you. If I don't know, I always try and do a lot of research to figure it out for you all. So I want to bring the right information, which is very important for me because I don't like people to get wrong information. And if I ever give wrong information, I'll definitely come on and correct it. So I want to come on and make this video. Appreciate you all again. And if you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. Mr. Bitcoin Maxi. I'm going to take a shower, brush my teeth, and go to bed. I will see you all in tomorrow's video. Have a good night.